Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of All in All with Alex. I'm your host, of course, Alex. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Miss Ashley.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on your amazing podcast. I really appreciate it.
No problem. I thank you. I thank you. So, can you give the people a little bit of background about yourself before we dive into the questions?
Yes, my name is Ashley Michelle, and I was a survivor and a witness of a homicide. And I'm here today to share my story to help raise awareness and to end the silence of mental health and domestic abuse and to help inspire as many individuals as I possibly can.
Sounds amazing. I mean, we need more people like you to be able to tell their stories to help people, and that's kind of the focus of my podcast is making it a place where people can talk about things they've been through, experienced, and so on and so forth, and hopefully it inspires someone else to either tell their
Absolutely.
story, to maybe talk to somebody about it, or something basically make them do something positive instead of something negative, basically. So
100%. I agree with that.
right.
It's
So
all about turning the negative and turning it into something positive.
yes, definitely, definitely. Okay, perfect. So basically, we're just gonna get straight into it. So, can you give a brief overview of the events that led to your book, Finding Strength Through Tragedy?
Yes. So I didn't realize at the time when I went through my horrific event in 2016 that I actually had to dive in really deep and go all the way to my childhood trauma. That was the only way that I was going to get past absolutely everything was going back to like the root of every single problem. So starting in childhood, my parents were very toxic for me, and I knew that I had to leave and walk away from that situation once and for all. My biological dad got into many accidents. He punched holes in walls. He yelled. He screamed. He was violent towards our animals as well. Just a really toxic upbringing, all in all. And then getting bullied. And then my first relationship ever in college was domestic abuse. And I was pushed and slammed into walls. I was cheated on. It was just horrific all the way around. Still managed to pass all my exams, don't know how. And that was my first ever relationship, just pure toxicity. And then 2016, I was actually running in a park in broad daylight, and I was sexually assaulted then. And then, like, literally 2 weeks later, I found myself in the middle of a murder scene um, by my boyfriend at the time, and he beat his best friend to death and tried to kill me in the process. And I will never ever forget that call at 5:30 in the morning asking me to come over, showing me the body of the deceased and telling me that this would be me next. I didn't think that I was making it out of the murder scene for a second alive. I was strangled. I was sexually assaulted. I had a knife pointed to my back at one point and told me that this would be the easiest way to kill me. I was shown the body of the deceased. Um, he also, before I left the murder scene, I'm not really sure, he took a naked selfie of himself covered in blood as almost like a trophy like. I ran down 18 flights of stairs. That's how I got out. He went to the washroom. I was in the apartment for about 2 hours. Ran down 18 flights of stairs, and then I called police at a variety store, and the police showed up to Nathan's apartment where they found Will with a packed suitcase and his passport. But he claimed he was just collecting his belongings and not running away. It was it was unreal. It was the most difficult thing that I have ever been through in my life. And to know that there are so many other people going through the same experience that I've been through, it, that's the whole reason behind me sharing my story. That's the whole reason behind me writing a book, Finding Strength Through Tragedy. I actually had a friend call up to me a couple years after this event occurred, and she told me, she's like, you should write a book. And I never thought about even writing a book. And then one day during COVID, I just started typing away on my laptop, and sure enough, I had enough to write a book. And they talk about surviving mental health. They talk about uh, who I am today. I talk about finding love after tragedy. I talk about domestic abuse, which is something that I'm a huge advocate for because so many young girls go back time and time again to an abusive relationship. And it's easier said than done. People are always pointing fingers at people when they go back in a relationship. But really, when there's kids and finances involved, it's a whole different story. And then I also talk about mental health because I had no idea what PTSD was. I had no idea what depression was. I had no idea what anxiety. I had a little bit of anxiety here and there throughout the years, but nothing major. And then that all just it opened my eyes so much. I remember sitting in the doctor's office and them going through a PTSD screening with me and I was like, "Oh no, I don't have this. Like I'm not a war vet. I just didn't come back from war." And sure enough, I had PTSD. So it was just a real eye opener, and I knew that I had to make a difference. I knew I had to impact as many lives as I possibly could because at the end of the day, I knew that what happened to me is a worldwide epidemic, and there's so many people going through it. And funny enough, the first things detectives said to me wasn't, "Well, what happened?" They said, "Please make us a promise that you won't turn to the streets for drugs, sex, prostitution, etc." And that's when I knew right then and there, like, wow, like for them to have to make this promise to people that they won't turn to the streets for drugs, sex, etc. Like this is an epidemic that's on the rise. So now when I see people in my neighborhood, shooting up, I think to myself, what horrific trauma did they go through to get to that point? Because nobody just one day sticks a needle in their arm for shits and giggles and is like, okay, whatever. There's a reason behind the madness. There's always a reason behind the behavior.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I mean, especially considering everything that you've been through, a lot of people would turn to something like that to be able to
As a
make
coping method.
right, right, right. Yeah, or make them forget about it, or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's definitely a very tragic story, of your life events that you've had to go through. So, how did you find the courage to start talking about it publicly?
I guess I found the courage when the police sat me down and said, like, please make us a promise you won't turn to the streets. I think that's really what opened my eyes because for so long, like, I'd see all these people, like, getting high and everything like that, but I didn't know to the degree why people went out and coped in this way. I now when I see people on the streets, when I see homeless people, when I see people that aren't doing well in society, I feel like I can relate to them. I feel like they obviously went through something so horrific that they can't get the help and support they need. That's why I think counseling is so vital to get that counseling and help that you need right away and not wait for the problems to escalate because when you wait without all those community resources, you're feeling more and more vulnerable. And I think support and I think healthy relationships and positive, nourishing relationships are everything. And when you don't have those and you just have negative people in your life, it's going to leave you down a dark, negative path. But I think when you have positive, uplifting people in your life, I think that's when you really find your way to heal and grow as an individual. And I think for me, myself personally, I think that I knew that I had a lot of toxic relationships and I knew I needed to cut ties with that because I knew that was not going to help me. My biological mom was very toxic, my biological dad, very toxic. I knew that that needed to be the end of it, and I knew I needed to cut ties because I couldn't go on like that forever. I couldn't go on with the lack of support, the constant judgment, the constant ridicule. It was very narcissistic. And you know what? Narcissists make everything about themselves and they always put all the problems on you. And that's what I've always gotten my entire life. And I knew that there was going to be no more of that. I knew I had to cut losses right then and there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's definitely understandable. I mean, a lot of
Even
people.
if they're family, you have to put the power and control into your own hands and say, you know what, this person ain't right for me. Even if they're family, even if they're biological family, sometimes biological family can be the most toxic people in your life. It's called reevaluating your life for a better you, better tomorrow. more peace, more harmony in your life,
Mhm.
that's what you deserve. Like people are so tied down to like, oh, this is my family. It's the be and end all. But it's not. You make your family whatever you want it to be.
Right, right, and yeah, and I definitely agree with that because I like my brother. He's actually sitting right here beside me, and me and him talk all the time, and I tell him like, he's not actually my real brother. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm African American. He's Hispanic. You know what I mean? But that's my brother because like,
Sure.
it's not about blood. It's about your mindset, your mental thinking and things like that. So, um,
It's about who's there for you in the long run,
well, yeah,
through
that
thick
that
and thin, and who's never going to judge you.
for sure, that too. And some of the things you were saying was a lot of the things that that we say is like, hey, we only want positive minded people around us because as you think negative and you start seeping those negative thoughts in our atmosphere, it's gonna seep into our life. And we don't want any negativity in our life. You know what I mean? We only want positive energy and positive outcomes, positive things to happen. So you definitely got to surround yourself with those positive minded people for sure, like you said. So
Oh, absolutely. Like it's all about your surroundings and it's all about your relationships that you create. And, it's all about readjusting and redirecting your life for the better. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's not being selfish. That's simply called self care. And self care is vital when you're going through the healing process.
hmm I definitely agree. I definitely agree. So um going through those traumatic instances in your life, how were you able to get through that? I mean, I know you had to find some kind of way, like, going through what you went through and having to fight for your life and get down, 18 flights of stairs and things like that. Like, how were you able to deal with, like, after that happened, like the next couple weeks? I can only imagine like your mindset and what you dealt with.
Honestly, it was not an easy process by any means. I mean, how could it be?
Right.
Um, I attempted to take my own life by mixing pills and alcohol together in October of 2016. Yeah, 2016, I attempted to take my own life, which is, looking back on it, is very selfish for myself because I needed justice to be served. But I'm someone that is, and I'm still to this day, I'm very emotional. Like, I cry at the drop of a hat. You say something wrong to me, it's gonna affect me. I'm a very emotional individual. I feel everything very heavy and very intensely. You say the wrong thing to me, it's going to set me off and it's going to create a negative mood. However, getting through that, I think that I just knew that I needed to seek justice. I knew that I needed to be there for the family of the deceased. I knew that at the end of the day, I wasn't the only one going through this. Yes, I was like one person in this scene. However, I knew that there were many individuals surrounded and around Nathan and involved in Nathan's life that were all going through this. And I knew that I needed to be strong for them and I needed to heal with them. So it took a lot of counseling. It took a lot of self awareness. It took a lot of um, evaluating my relationships. It took a lot of self growth. It took a totally different mindset, a totally different attitude. It was a whole learning curve for me. And that's why I think it's so instrumental to go back to your childhood and focus on everything, because my trauma just didn't start in 2016. My trauma started from minute one, day one, as a young child. And in order to heal, I had to go through every stone and flip every stone over so I could grow as a better, wiser, more knowledgeable, and understanding person to get through my trauma. So, again, a lot of self awareness. A lot of talking to counselors, therapists, a lot of, coaching with friends and chatting with them and just having the mindset where I knew what I needed in my life and I knew what I didn't need in my life.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the most important thing is um, you really having an understanding of what you need, because that's vital to get your mental health to where you need to be. Um, So, um, so your life then and then your life now. So how has your perspective changed on life after going through what you went through?
My life now is live every day to your fullest. My days now involve, social media like TikTok and Facebook and my Facebook group. Those are all like my babies, and just sharing my day to day stuff with the world. Like whenever I get an idea in my head about, if I hear about narcissists or if I hear about domestic violence, posting that video and talking about it and, educating people so they can get to where they need to be. I think that's where my mindset is now, is just as helping as many individuals as I can. Like if I die tomorrow, I want to know that I helped save somebody's life through doing these podcasts, and I gave them the inspiration and the courage that they need so they can live their own life. I think really and truly that's what it comes down to. And you know what? My support system, I'm so incredibly grateful for the amount of support that I have around me. My grandma, she's going to be 91 this year. She pretty much raised me growing up. I have just so many incredible instrumental people in my life, and it's just like my sister Chelsea, she's not like biologically mine, but that's who I call my sister. That's my mindset. That was, Chelsea, Patty, and Jane were there for me every day in the trial, wiped away my tears with Kleenex, like never fussed, never complained. They were in my corner. And it's just so uplifting and it's so positive to have those people in my life is vital. And to have so many people that just uplift you and want the best for you, I think is such an important mindset. I have a black German Shepherd and his name is Beryl. And I love him so much. And he is honestly, I've never been much of a dog person, but he's like literally changed my life for the better. And, I take him out for walks and I do things with him and I feel just so protected. I don't think, I don't worry, I don't stress with him. He's just he's one of the biggest blessings in my life, honestly. And it's crazy to say that like a dog is, but I love Beryl so much and he's just like dogs can literally change your life in a blink of an eye and you don't even know it. And having a boyfriend and having stepdaughters too, like that, you want to be the best influence you can possibly be for them. You want to be the best role model that you can be for them. Like it's just it changes your mindset entirely. And honestly, I'm so blessed for that. I'm so blessed to have just so many incredible people in my life that I don't have to think twice about or wonder about. And I'm truly blessed. I have a great place that I live with my boyfriend, and I'm just every day is such a blessing. And like there's highs and lows. I mean, no relationship is perfect. Like I honestly, I will fully admit, am I an easy person? No. Do I come with a lot of baggage? Absolutely do I. You know, my life is not anything normal either. I mean, in March, I just had a hearing with Will, and Will hasn't pretty much shut up since he's been incarcerated. Like, there's always been something with him. There's always been, I need this or I need this hearing, and it's just that's the thing with survivors of crime is it never ever stops, even though the person's incarcerated. Like, you pretty much are in it for life. It's a life sentence for not only the deceased, but the deceased's family and for the survivors and witnesses of the crime. So this whole process is ongoing.
Yeah, I mean, that's gonna be something that you'll be dealing with for the rest of life, pretty much. Because
Well,
it was
he's up for full parole come 2030.
he's what?
He's up for full parole by
Oh wow,
2030.
wow,
There's
wow.
no justice here in Canada, none.
Yeah. Oh, that's where you're. Okay, that's where you're in Canada. Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to ask where you're from because I knew, with that being that looming, I didn't want nobody to be, asking where your location or anything like that. So, um, but yeah, that's man, 2030. I mean, that's literally what it happened in what 2016.
Correct.
Golly, that ain't even feel.
There's no life sentence. I'm a person where if you take a life, then your life should be taken from you. I don't feel like you should get to live your life. I feel like you should be in the prison for the rest of your life, behind bars where you belong, not have the opportunity to have a family and get married, etc. I just feel like that's not justice at all.
Yeah. I think a lot of times when stuff like that happens is because you have so much bad going on in the world. There ain't enough prison cells and things like that. So then eventually some people have to get out, and it just I don't know.
But
It's the
what?
way.
Murderers and child predators, I don't understand why they can't be in bars the rest of their life. You know, People that commit minor crimes like stealing a car, like,
Mhm.
gang members, I believe that they have the ability to change their lives around. But I always think to myself, once a child rapist, once a murder, always a murder. I don't feel like those people have the mindset to change. I feel like they just learn to manipulate the system.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you do it in a way that that he did it. It's different if maybe like it was a self defense or or like something like that. Maybe it was what I'm saying. Maybe he wasn't trying to go that far, but the way you
There was
explained.
no sorry. There was no remorse on his part. To this day, there still isn't. Like, he pretty much said in the hearing that we had in March, he didn't mean to do it, like all this, like it wasn't like, no, you beat somebody to death and watch them die on the floor for 2 to 3 hours. That's
Yeah.
sick. That's not somebody who is, you know, fixed and ready to go out. And he said that he was already going away for one account of murder. Why not make it two? That
Oh
is
wow.
somebody who is seriously sick.
Yeah.
And that's somebody who is so powerful and so controlling that they
Mhm.
will never, ever have the ability to have any kind of rehabilitation or change in any way, shape, or form. They just learn how to manipulate and control the system. That's all they do. They tell everybody everything they want to hear. And they
Yeah.
don't consider the survivors, the witnesses, the homicide family, anybody that went through this horrific crime. They don't consider them because they don't know empathy, they don't know compassion, and they don't know remorse.
Yep. I agree. I agree. Um. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's just just thinking about it. It just does something to you just in that thinking about it. So, uh, so with everything that you've been doing as far as telling your story and getting out here on people's podcasts, have there been any moment that's kind of stuck with you as far as like you making an impact on someone else's life?
There's been survivors of crime that have reached out to me from the state. There's been multiple people that have, like, added themselves on Finding Strength Through Tragedy, my Facebook group. It's honestly been the most uplifting process ever. Some of my proceeds from my book actually go to um, the police station here in my community, and they actually help survivors and witnesses of crime. And
Okay.
they actually helped purchase a service dog. So that was really uplifting. Is I don't keep any proceeds from my book. I give that straight to our police services, and they we give it to victim services because there's just such a need for counseling and resources for so many survivors because there's survivors and witnesses of crime every day. It doesn't stop.
Right. Right. Yes, I definitely would agree with that. Um. So let me see. So has has forgiveness played a role in your healing process?
I don't have forgiveness. I don't have forgiveness at all. I don't.
Hmm.
Uh, it sounds terrible, but
No, I mean it doesn't
there's
sound
no
not to me.
forgiving because there hasn't been that. opportunity for any I mean, how do you forgive somebody
Hmm.
who took a life and watched their best friend die on the floor for 2 to 3 hours and just watched them die? Like I don't understand how you forgive that. I don't understand how you forget that. Every day that crosses my mind. There isn't a day that I don't think about what he did.
Yeah.
There's not a day where I can't tell you word for word everything that happened and occurred from minute to minute in that apartment. No, I don't have forgiveness.
Yeah. Well, I guess I should have specified a little bit more. Not necessarily for that situation, but I'm talking about the prior traumas before that. I know you were talking about you had to dig down deep to your childhood for certain things. As far as how you got the toxic people out of your life and things like that.
Yeah, no, I don't have forgiveness for them either.
Okay. No,
I
no
think
worries.
that I'm just like better without them, and that's
Hmm.
just the way that my life has to be.
Hey, I understand that. Like I said, hey, you gotta focus on you. Nobody else is gonna do it. You gotta focus on yourself. So I definitely understand that. So is there any specific maybe like strategies that you use to like manage, anxiety or the PTSD that you're dealing with?
I think with PTSD, especially when there's like trials and stuff that you have to go to, I think it's just having those supportive people in your life that are going to help you get through the process that you're going through. I think just having a supportive team that you can reach out and talk to at any time, like, my therapist and I, like, we still do check ins every so often. And I think just having people around me that I know that I can count on and that will support me through these different trials that are going to be upcoming in the near future.
Right. Okay. Okay. Um. So what are some of the impactful feedback that you may have received from people that read your book?
Oh, I can actually share that with
Okay. Sure.
so Josh was a friend from the hospital, and this is some of the quotes that people have said. So when I met Ashley 7 years ago, I was struck by her positivity in enthusiasm and compassion for others. Through the years, Ashley has faced unimaginable situations, but she has always been able to dig deep, foster these traits to herself. Through it hasn't been an easy journey, but during this time, Ashley has drawn on many strategies to assist her. Ashley's drive and compassion for others has led her to write this book in hopes of reaching even just one person to let them know they are not alone. Jay is another friend of mine. Ashley is truly an inspiration and full of courage to take something so horrific and turn it into a positive way that shows her true strength. Chelsea, she's my sister. I'll read you what she wrote. I've been so proud and impressed with her over the years. I've been I've seen her go through the absolute worst experiences and come out stronger on the other side. I've seen her care immensely about others, but never give up on herself. You've made me feel so grateful and blessed to be your sister. This is what it's all leading to. This is what we're going to reach all the survivors you ever wanted to reach. This is how you're going to continue to turn tragedy into strength. I love you. Through this horrific event, I have watched Ashley become courageous, resilient, and empowered woman, and I know the other survivors are filled with comfort and build strength from her words. So yeah, it's people like that have the feedback that make me feel like I'm an important individual and that I need to keep doing this and that I need to keep giving back to others. I know that this is the reason that I do everything. Like those positive quotes uplift me, build my confidence in more ways than you can ever begin to imagine. It is the best hearing that I've done so well.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
just I'm incredibly grateful for the amount of people that I have in my life. I truly am. And what gets me is some people don't have any of that. And
mhm.
that's what leads them to the streets. That's what leads them to drugs and in prostitution, etc. But I'm so lucky and I'm continuously grateful that I have so many people who continuously enrich my life for the better so I can inspire other people for the better.
Yep, yep. I would agree. I would agree. Definitely great to have those people. So are there so how has your experience changed your perspective on the justice system? Because I know you were saying you're in Canada, and I don't know much about how the justice system works there, because I'm in.
Honestly, I don't even believe that it's called a justice system. I
Oh,
think that there is absolutely no justice in this system.
mm,
I think that it is so flawed. I think it caters to the person who is incarcerated.
oh wow.
I think that it's like we get testing scores and everything from the jail, and it says how he's like, how he's found like the typical storylines of every single prisoner again and again and again. I found God. I work out 2 to 3 times a week. Like, they make themselves look like Mother Teresa, and let me tell you something, they're not. But
Mhm.
they have this way of manipulating the system so much so that people fall in that trap, and I'm not sure why. There's still no accountability. There's no remorse. There's no nothing. There is no justice in this system. Like, the fact that our tax dollars pay for them to get books, and then he has a job where he makes $7 an hour. So by the time he's 40, he could come out of prison, and then he gets all this money and gets to have a job. Like, they just cater towards the prisoners. It's not towards the survivors. It's not towards the witnesses. It's not towards the deceased's family. It's all about the prisoner and taking care of them. It seems to be more about them than it is anybody else. The system caters towards the ones that did wrong.
Yeah, and that's oh man, that's
It is a broke system, is what I call it.
yeah, that's what it sounds like to me too.
Like, I believe, like I've said before in this podcast, you kill someone, you take a life. I'm sorry, but your life should be taken as well. And I don't mean murdered, I mean spend the rest of your life behind bars where you belong. I
Right.
don't care if the jails are, totally crowded, then find somewhere else for them. Transfer them to another prison, for God's sakes. Like, enough is enough. You take a life, why get yours back?
Yeah. No, I
I get it if you accidentally hurt somebody in a car accident. Okay, different story.
right.
But to hurt somebody and beat somebody to death with your bare hands, I'm sorry, I don't have much empathy for that.
Oh no, no, I definitely understand. Like I say, that's why I say the context always matters. In any situation in life. Um, so have you had any unexpected positive outcomes that have emerged while you've been in your healing journey?
Like, in towards of the will stuff, or in towards of my like personal life.
Either one.
Yeah. I'm in a relationship now. I
That's good.
have been moved in with my boyfriend for we've been together for 3 years. I
Okay.
have a dog Beryl that I love to pieces and would do absolutely anything for.
That's great.
Um, I have so many positive people that live close by me that I can call it. I have amazing neighbors. No, like I have three beautiful stepdaughters that are great. I don't really I have a grandma that I make sure that I try to talk to every day. I have this book. I do blogs every single weekend, which helps a lot with my PTSD and anxiety, actually. And I have the gym where I go and work out, or if I'm super angry or super frustrated, I go to the gym or I go for a run. Like, that has probably been, when you ask me about my mental health, that's probably what has saved me, to be completely honest with you, is the gym. And working out for me has been absolutely everything, because people go to the gym and they think, oh, it's just to get in shape, but like, the mental side of things, like, you just don't think about anything else when you're there. Like, I almost call it my mini vacation, because it's just my home away from home, where I just I feel like I can just let loose and I just can be myself. And I go and I train and I get out all my frustrations, I get out all my madness and everything that I feel in that day, I just release to those weights.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's definitely. I mean, that's a place that you find peace, and anytime you can find peace
Honestly, yeah.
somewhere, you got to continue to you got to keep that going. Um. So, so, um, so what message do you hope to convey to other survivors of trauma?
I think to never ever give up on yourself and to always believe in yourself and to know like this is a life sentence, but it doesn't have to be the be end and end all. I mean, it's great to talk about it. It's great to raise awareness about it. Like when you're ready to tell your story, I always recommend it because, you're that teaching lesson and that teaching tool to others, right?
Hmm.
And I think the power of my story is all about giving back. That's where I find the most power and the most satisfaction is by sharing my story to all these amazing platforms. And I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for having a platform where you allow people to tell their stories because it creates hope and inspiration and guidance towards others. So I think it's just about, finding that growth, finding that strength, and, especially, I believe that there's so much trauma and there's so much tragedy. But when you truly find that strength afterwards, it is the most rewarding gift you will ever get.
That's great. That's amazing to hear. I can never say I know how you feel because something I've never been through. But just to hear your story and then hear how you've bounced back from it and you're doing well in life and that's just always great to hear. Always.
You have to. It's all about like I named my book Finding Strength Through Tragedy and like I came up with the title of my book way before I came up with anything else in that book. Just because I knew that like, from tragedy comes, strength and dedication and perseverance and gratitude and self-awareness and tragedy can really bring out the best in people. Do I wish what happened to me happened to me? No. But all the trauma that I've been through, even at the beginning stages of my childhood, has made me who I am today, has made me wiser, has made me more understanding, has made me more acceptable, and it made me understand my community more, made me understand that these people that are homeless, aren't just homeless for a reason or aren't just shooting up heroin for a reason. There's a story behind this horrific trauma, this epidemic. And it's just all I care about is at this point in time in my life, just helping people, just, saving people from falling down a dark path because no one deserves that.
Right. I agree. I agree. So um so before we get out of here, before we end it, are there any future projects or goals or maybe future books that you're writing? Anything that you want to, tell the people about so that way they can be looking forward to?
Just continuing on my blogs, like right now, my latest blog that I'm working on is all about narcissists. And how they're very self entitled. And, so many people deal with this on an ongoing basis. So many people deal with like the gaslighting, the love bombing. I talk about that because that is huge right now. And that is huge in domestic violent relationships. So many people stay because they're love bombed. They're hit and then they're told they're so beautiful and so amazing that they forget about getting hit. And, so many people don't understand why people don't leave. And there's just so much judgment and just so much ridicule. And I'm really trying hard to raise or downgrade all those stereotypes and keep them from happening because so many people are just, it's so easy for people just to judge, judge, judge. And yet they know nothing about the situation at hand. So
Mhm.
just continuing on with my blogs, continuing on with my TikToks, just being very insightful with as much knowledge and as much awareness that I can raise about certain topics that are just on the rise right now. Like domestic violence is huge on the rise, narcissist relationships are huge on the rise. And narcissist doesn't even just have to be in a romantic relationship, but a lot of people are finding, their bosses, coworkers, narcissists. Just bringing everything out on the table for people to have this information so they have the right knowledge and understanding of what it is that they need to do, what it is that they need to work on, to be at their best, right? And to live their best life. So just providing as much informative information as I can. That's my goal.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. And so, you have your own website, right? AshleyInspires.ca.
Yep, I have that. I have my YouTube channel. I also have my TikTok, Ashley Inspire, not Ashley Inspires. That's my old one. I have a new one now.
Okay.
So it's just Ashley Inspire with an E at the end. And then I have my Facebook group, Finding Strength Through Tragedy, which I love. I have my Facebook page, Ashley Inspires. So all of it is just being on social media alone. Like, people really judge that and ridicule that a lot, but they don't understand that, like, there's just so many people looking for that extra guidance, that extra little bit of information to help them. So I find it extremely rewarding to be on those platforms. I don't find that it's like takes up time or something. Like sometimes like, I'll have my stepdaughters or whatever and like I'll be at the park or whatever the case is, or I'll be at work and sometimes I'll just create that like quick post, or when I'm at the gym too, I get all these like really great ideas in my head. So sometimes I'll like text myself while I'm at the gym these great ideas and then post them later on social media. So it's just I think that social media can really be a benefit if you allow it to be.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I definitely agree with that. So, um, everybody that's watching, I need everybody to go and follow her on social media. Go support. Go purchase a copy of the book, um, as well. And then I need everybody to keep up with you and see what you have coming up, because I'm pretty sure you're gonna have some more things that's positive. It's gonna help other people that's going through things come up, and so everybody needs to stay in tune with that.
Well, I mean, that's the hopes at the end of the day is just to help as many lives as I possibly can, get all those people out of the darkness and bring them back into light. Is that's the goal and that's the mindset that I have.
Hmm. Right, right. So, I thank you for your time today.
Well,
Um,
no, thank you, Alex, for your time. And, thank you for creating this amazing platform so people can come on and be honest and open and trust you enough to share their stories on your platform. I'm telling you, it's the most rewarding gift you can give people. So thank you.
hey, I just do what I can. I know everybody has things that they want to say, and they may not have a place where they can say it. So I try to make that available to everyone. So, um, but everyone, you guys have just watched another episode of All in All with Alex, and we'll see you guys on the next episode later.